going to a different economy, and we're going to be learning more about that as we go. But clearly, we're learning that things can be done from remote locations. We're learning that technology can replace people even more than we thought.
We're not going back to the same economy. We're recovering, but to a different economy, and it'll be one that is more leveraged to technology. And I worry that that is going to make it even more difficult than it was for many workers.
In Silicon Valley, and my friends who work in technology know that what we did to the manufacturing workers, we are now going to do to the retail workers, the call center workers, the fast food workers, the truck drivers, and then even bookkeepers, accountants, insurance agents, lawyers, and on through the economy. So what happened to the manufacturing workers is a very clear sign of what's going to happen.
Welcome to the Crypto Teacher. And guys, I come back with a video just to make you think. And this video is very, very important. We have Biden stating that he's going back to the TPP. Anybody who has my book, read the back cover, and you understand that the fact is that this TPP, if it is approved and we come a part of it, all your sovereignty rights are over. Now, you think the C word is bad. You wait until they put this TPP in effect. Now, remember, with the TPP, you probably will not have any more genetic medicine. All big pharma. Corporations will run everything. You will be no longer able to sue a corporation. Actually, the corporation can sue the government if it got in the way of their profits. Also, copyrights. Just by fair use copyrights, you could be fined or even go to jail. Now, remember, Obama put us a part of the TPP. And then Trump came and took us off. Now, you remember when it comes to the New World Order, 2 steps forward, 1 step back in order to get to your plan. Now we have Biden that comes up and says, no, we want to be a part of this. We want to be a part of our allies. But what he's not explaining is that the corporations will have full control of your whole life. Now tap that in with cryptocurrencies. Tap that in with Bitcoin, these stable coins, universal basic income. The corporations will control your life. You think China is bad? You wait till this TPP is approved. Now remember, guys, nobody even knew what was inside of TPP when they were actually putting it together, and then tried to fast track it. But guys, if the people don't wake up, if the people don't decide to read and understand that all their sovereignty is about to get thrown out the window, you are really about to be a slave to these corporations. It's not even a question. And when it comes to these corporations, they can care less whether you live or die. Remember, the devil is in the detail. We have the stock market, all-time highs. Crypto, all-time highs. Well, all your rights and sovereignty is going out the window. Guys, never ever let money distract you. Never ever let money distract the things that matter, because what happens? You might not be able to use that money. Remember, guys, when it comes to the New World Order, everything is planned out. You have a wonderful day.
Bayer Corporation produced a medicine that was supposed to improve the lives of hemophiliacs. Bayer didn't tell those hemophiliacs that their product was infected with HIV. Because of that, entire families of hemophiliacs died with AIDS as the virus spread within households. When Bayer was ordered to stop selling their drug in America, they dumped their AIDS-laden product in Asia and killed Asian families. No one with Bayer management was arrested. No one who made these psychopathic quality decisions went to prison. They claimed the protection of their status as a corporation. That corporate status gave management the ability to kill people for profit and not go to prison. I handled the civil case against Bayer and saw firsthand that this was a rogue operation, not typical of most corporations. But how do you put that rogue in prison? Who do you arrest? Today, rogue corporations have the best of all worlds. They take advantage of the constitutional protections that were originally written for living, breathing humans. They argue that the U.S. Supreme Court mandated 130 years ago that we must treat corporations exactly like we treat people. They argued that the 14th Amendment was written to protect their corporate person status with equal protection and due process. But when the conduct of that corporate person is so vile that they make decisions to kill people to increase profit, we hear the argument that it was a corporate-wide decision. We hear that there was no single person to hold accountable. They tell us that many people were involved in the acts, and we can't throw that corporation in prison. The U.S. Supreme Court expanded the definition of person even further for American corporations. The big winner were the corporations that are the most corrupt. This is a Supreme Court that is packed mostly with lawyers who were employed by America's most powerful corporations before they became judges. It's a court full of judges who sit on the court largely because the corporate powerhouses they once represented helped put them there. Their decisions are predictable. When this court finished writing its opinion about treating corporations more like people, the product they delivered looked like one of those warm and fuzzy Hallmark greeting cards that rallies our emotions with feel-good pictures of puppies and kittens and cherub-like babies. By way of words, they're going to paint a Norman Rockwell-like picture that's going to make us want to invite this saint-like corporate person to dinner with our families. A word of advice, though, if you do invite him over for dinner, send the children to another room and count the silver settings before this corporate person leaves the house. Most importantly, recognize that Mother Teresa character that the U.S. Supreme Court tries to sell you has more in common with Freddy Krueger. As this court expands the constitutional protections of this poor, misunderstood entity known as the corporate person, they should also spend some time expanding avenues that allow us to do what we do with any psychopath who harms our family. Put handcuffs on them and throw them in prison.
Sort of announcing to the world, as the commander-in-chief, that the policy of the previous administration, that America First policy, is done and over with, and this is a new day.
With China. How the United States, Europe, and Asia work together to secure the peace and defend our shared values and advance our prosperity across the Pacific will be among the most consequential efforts we undertake. Competition with China is going to be stiff. That's what I expect, and that's what I welcome, because I believe in the global system Europe and the United States together with our allies in the Indo-Pacific worked so hard to build over the last 70 years. We can own the race for the future. But to do so, we have to be clear-eyed about the historic investments and partnerships that this will require. We have to protect for space, for innovation, for intellectual property, and the creative genius that thrives with the free exchange of ideas in open democratic societies. We have to ensure that the benefits of growth are shared broadly and equitably, not just by a few. We have to push back against the Chinese government's economic abuses and coercion that undercut the foundations of the international economic system. Everyone must play by the same rules. U.S. and European companies are required to publicly disclose corporate governance structures and abide by rules to deter corruption and monopolistic practices. Chinese companies should be held to the same standard. We must shape the rules that will govern the advance of technology and the norms of behavior in cyberspace, artificial intelligence, biotechnology, so that they are used to lift people up, not used to pin them down. We must stand up for the democratic values and make it possible for us to accomplish any of this, pushing back against those who would monopolize and normalize repression. This is also how we're going to be able to meet the threat from Russia. The Kremlin attacks our democracies and weaponizes corruption to try to undermine our system of governance. Russian leaders want people to think that our system is more corrupt or as corrupt as theirs. But the world knows that isn't true, including Russia's own citizens. Putin seeks to weaken the European project and our NATO alliance. He wants to undermine the transatlantic unity and our resolve, because it's so much easier for the Kremlin to bully and threaten individual states than it is to negotiate with a strong and closely united transatlantic community. That's why standing up for the sovereignty and territorial integrity of Ukraine remains a vital concern for Europe and the United States. That's why addressing recklessness, Russian recklessness, and hacking into computer networks in the United States and across Europe and the world has become critical to protecting our collective security. The challenges with Russia may be different than the ones with China, but they're just as real. It is not about pitting East against West. It's not about we want a conflict. We want a future where all nations are able to freely determine their own path without a threat of violence or coercion. We cannot and must not return to the reflective opposition and rigid blocks of the Cold War. Competition must not lock out cooperation on issues that affect